In Connor's case, Mr. Connor, Judge Connor, I think it's Michael Connor. This was only his first time DWI. By the way, this happened at the same time. These offenses happened within a few months apart, these two judges. And as I said, both of them had a .16 and a .17. Judge Connor was driving down the roadway. You already know what his blood alcohol count was. The car ahead of him was about to make a left turn, so he attempted to pass the car on the right. He misjudged a little bit and hit it somewhat seriously and substantially in the rear of the car, damaging the front of his car. He got knocked off the road into some mud. He remained in his car. He didn't approach the other person. He kept trying to drive his car out of the mud. And the other person's coming up to the window. Could you roll your window down? And he wouldn't look at the woman who was driving the other car. And they point out in the opinion, not that this is relevant because there was any alleged injuries, but she was driving with her 3 young children in the car. How bad does that make you look? It has no real relevance to this, but nonetheless.
Could have been nuns, Joe.
What?
It could have been nuns.
That could have been 3. That's right. I guess it could have been worse. So Judge Connor, coming back, hits the car, winds up in the mud, refuses to roll down his window, and he's finally able to work his car out of the mud. Boom! Takes off at what the opinion describes as a high rate of speed. The woman says, I decided to follow him. She says, I already had his license plate, so I guess it didn't much matter. So she follows him to see where he goes, because she was calling. Back then, we didn't have cell phones, probably, but nonetheless, she followed him. For 2 miles, he sped throughout the streets, and she followed him, and finally, he drove off the road and hit a tree. As if this wasn't bad enough. Now, remember, now we got drunk driving, and we've got careless or reckless driving. We've got leaving the scene of an accident. Oh, but let's compound it. So the police obviously are called, and they find this accident and the judge in the car. So they ask the judge, what happened? He says, I was just driving down the road, and someone swerved into my lane, and I just drove off and hit the tree. They said, really? Okay. You got some damage to the left front of your car, not the part where you hit the tree. What's that from? He wouldn't say. He refused to say. So then they said, well, the lady over here. He said, whoa. He says, before you tell me anything, before you speak to that lady again, he says, I just want you to know, she's crazy. She's been following me. She's been trying to drive me off the road. I never met her before in my life. And she says that you hit her car back there. Nope, never hit her car. Had nothing to do with her car. She's making all this up. She's just been following me, trying to drive me off the road. Okay, this is not a good set of facts to be before the Supreme Court with. The Supreme Court pointed out that it was his leaving the scene of the accident indicated an absence of his ability to take responsibility for his conduct. And as a judge, we all know you're required to make difficult determinations. Some of them are easier than others. Some of them are more important than others. But you make difficult determinations. But you have to own your decisions. You have to be responsible for your conduct. If you make a mistake, listen, the Supreme Court says in our cases, it's okay for judges to make mistakes. No one's perfect. No one knows all the law. You're making judgment calls all day. It may not even be a mistake. Other people may disagree in the future. So long as it's an honest mistake, then you make mistakes.